Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the Sunday TA video. Today we're going to be looking through a couple different charts, see where Bitcoin might be going this week. Unfortunately, it looks like it might be going down, but here's what we could do for this week if these potential plays do set up. So we're starting off here on the 3-day, the higher time frame chart. If you look at Bitcoin here, we had this great candle a couple days ago, this 3-day candle with this huge wick buying back up. And ideally, after a candle like that, you want to see some follow through. Whenever there's a long candle like this, if the next candle then continues up, usually that's a really good sign of upward momentum. However, you can see here the candle finished with a bit of a top wick, and then the next 3-day candle, which is going on right now, is also has a pretty big top wick, and it looks like it wants to go down. So on the higher time frames, it doesn't look like we're in a great spot. It seems anytime we get up above this 22.5 zone, there's a lot of sellers. So I'm thinking, unfortunately, early this week, I think we might head down towards $58,000 before we continue back up to 70,000. So if we go to a more granular chart here, if we go to the 4-hour, or actually even the daily chart, you can see we've come into this this area of resistance that we marked out on last Sunday's video, which we came up to, rejected, and then we had this great candle bounce back. But now we're rejecting here from this again and even lower. So we're starting to make these lower highs, which is not ideal. And we've also got these lower lows. So my thought process is, if we go down to the 4-hour, a little easier to see. Oops. We had these marked out last week where we had stops right here and right here, which came and got run and then continued back up. However, there's also bigger stops right here, which I think is potentially the next area we might target. So I have a feeling in the early week, we might come down here, target these stops here. And on a higher time frame, this is still a higher low. You know, if we go down to if we go up to the daily, you know, it's still a bit of a higher low, and we can continue upwards. However, on the smaller time frames, it is going to be a little bit sad if we go down here down to $56,000 to $58,000 and lose a bit of momentum in the early week. Now, the reason I'm thinking that is because we have strong momentum anytime we get up to this this resistance here, but also I've been thinking about it more, and it seems like there's been a lot of big consensus, and whenever there's a consensus on something, usually the opposite happens. So like in September, we all thought September was going to be super red, and it became the only, one of the only super green Septembers in history. And then October is always Uptober, and it's always super bullish, and it's amazing. So everyone's like, October is going to be obviously amazing. And then what happened the first couple of days, we dumped, and then we pumped back up again. But I think we might continue to dump for a little bit. And then maybe we do have that October towards the end of the month more. But I have a feeling, because everyone's expecting these, these higher prices in October and positioning to be super long, that we just might not get it, because that's a consensus. And if everyone thinks something, usually it's not right if everyone is, of the same mindset. So unfortunately, I think this is the more likely play. However, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. There are other scenarios, which I'll mark out here. We could come down here into this zone and then start to have a bit of a higher low here on this 4-hour time frame, which is a possibility. We could also continue to consolidate here, come up, because it is Sunday. We could have a Sunday pump still, and then overnight consolidate up here, which would be super bullish. But I think I put the odds of it at, this is the more probable scenario in the early week. This, I think, is maybe second. And then this is, I think, the least likely scenario, where we come up here and we consolidate overnight above here. But it is a possible scenario either way. So I want to mark these out, because whatever happens, you want to have what you're going to do in mind. So if we come up to here, this is great. It's a great place to long. If we start consolidating above this level, a great place to long to the next highs, and then you'd have your stop underneath these lows here. However, that's probably not going to happen, but it's a scenario. Another scenario is we come down here and we hold above this line, and you're able to put your stops below this wick and then target new highs as well. Another scenario. But I think most likely what's going to happen is we're going to come down here and take out the stops here, but also probably these stops here. So it'll most likely look like something like this, where you can have your entry around this area. I think this is the more probable scenario, where we do come down here to this 57-ish area. Now, it is totally possible, and the reason you want to be careful this week, though, is because if we do come down to this area, you don't want to just blindly bid right away if it's still falling. You don't want to catch a falling knife. So you want to see that this area holds. So what we'd like to see is, let me get rid of some of the stuff. What we'd like to see is if this does come down and takes out these stops, you want to see it come back and hold above this zone for a little bit before you then long, because what you would then do is you'd be able to, put your stop underneath whatever the wick is right here and then continue upwards. You don't want it to be coming down here. You see this level and then you just long, and then it just keeps falling and it keeps falling, and you just lose, you lose all your money. So it is important to watch and see that it does have some kind of reaction. There are some sort of buyers there, because what could happen is it just goes all the way down here. You're in, and then it just keeps going and it keeps going, and then you've lost a bunch of money. And then the actual level is right here because it takes out these stops, and then it reclaims this level, and then this is the level you want to long. This, I think, is a little less likely. I don't see it going all the way down there, but anything's possible. But you just want to see some sort of buying, and you want to see buyers hold the level for a little bit. At least a couple candles on the 4-hour. You want to see it hold before it continues back upwards. So that's kind of what I'm expecting for Bitcoin this week. Possibly this level, unfortunately, but these are other levels that are possible as well. So if you want to mark these out, these are levels that you could potentially have in order of likeliness. Now let's move on to Solana. Solana is pretty much doing the same thing. We're having these lower highs here as we're coming down, and so kind of losing momentum as we come into this resistance as well. Now, one thing I wanted to mark out is a pattern that we see a lot actually repeated over time, because pretty much all TA is just repeated patterns. And this is a pattern you'll see in a lot of different tops. Doesn't mean it has to be the all-time high top, but you can see this in a lot of different tops, this pattern right here. Now what happens is you have this consolidation here and then the breakout. And this breakout level is what gets a lot of people to long. And then that's the liquidity they need to then push the price down, and then it dumps. And so you can see this right here on Solana. This happens and we broke out, people long, and then instantly into resistance here. And it looks like we could then continue back down. And this pattern happens a lot in technical analysis. So you probably want to, save this pattern somewhere, because you'll see this in a lot of different tops. It has a different variation sometimes, but you can see, this was the start of it here. Consolidation, breakout, dump, and then continue down. So it's like, it doesn't have to be this exact pattern to a T, but you'll see this happen a lot where there's a little bit of a consolidation, breakout, and then it comes back down. That's why when I do my trading, here, I'll show you an example. That's why when I do my trading, let's say I was taking a trade on Solana here because it looked good and it looked like it was, about to break out. Let's say I was buying this and I was targeting these new highs. What I would have for my invalidation is I would have below the candle breakout as invalidation. So if this was like a super low time frame trade, I have to go even lower. If this was a super low time frame trade, my stop would be under the breakout candle, because if it comes down and loses that, then it's not bullish anymore, because it's coming back into the range. So what it's saying is that all of this and then the breakout doesn't matter because it's accepted back down into the range. And so that's something that you want to watch for, to differentiate between a good breakout and a bad breakout. If it comes back down and comes back below the candle that it broke out from, it's not very bullish anymore. So yeah, we'll see this. You'll see this play out many times in trading, and especially on the lower time frames, you'll see it a lot because everything is fractal. So you'll see this play out many more times. Now that is Solana. So Solana is more or less the same as Bitcoin, and a lot of these altcoins are pretty much the same. I think it's probably going to come back down to this zone again. I am a big buyer of Solana spot, so if it does come down to this zone, I'm looking to buy more Solana spot. But unfortunately, I think we probably will come down towards this level again, maybe wick into here. But I wouldn't want to long until we reclaim this level of support here at 132-ish. So that would be a trade I'd be looking to take if we did come down here. But like I said, with Bitcoin, I'd want to see some buyers here first. I'd want to see us actually buy and hold this level instead of just waiting for to catch a falling knife and then buying. So that's Solana. Next is Pepe. So the reason I'm including Pepe and Wif in this is because meme coins were pumping a bunch yesterday on a Saturday, which historically isn't amazing because it's usually pretty top signally, or at least a local top. We'll see if that actually does play out. But meme coins are the new meta, so it's hard to say exactly. However, it doesn't look great for Pepe and meme coins today. Now, all the meme coins were up maybe like double digits, like somewhere 10 to 30% yesterday. Um, and even on Friday as well. Wif was up on 15% on Friday. So we've come into this resistance again, and we're wicking into it, and then we're failing to hold this structure. And so pretty much the same pattern on Pepe as Solana and everything else is we wicked into resistance, and I could see us coming back down here at least to the support, and maybe lower, but at least into the support, and that's where I'd want to relong. But sometimes it's easier to see this if you look at it in the inverted chart. If I look at it like this looks like a level reclaim. And if this were the actual chart, this is where I'd want to long. But because it's inverted, obviously this is where you'd want to short. So this level reclaim area is sometimes easier to see when you invert your chart with a Option or Command I, whatever you're on. But yeah, I think this is an area where we're probably going to come back down here, take out these stops below here, and then maybe reclaim this level later on. But altcoins pumping on a Saturday usually gets reversed by Monday. That's what I'll say about that. So I know a lot of people are trading altcoins, and I don't think this is going to be the exact top because I do like Pepe and I hold Pepe and Wif and whatnot. But I think we've had a little bit of an overextension in the past couple of days, and or in the past couple of weeks, I'd say, and we can see the kind of declining momentum here on the higher time frames. So I think we do need to come back down a little bit more, consolidate for a little bit longer, and then maybe towards the end of October, early November, we then pick back up again. But these lower highs here aren't very inspiring of confidence. So we'll have to see on that. With more or less the same, but I wanted to show you guys this because this is actually a trade that I took yesterday in the Discord that I wanted to kind of explain a little bit. And it also has the same pattern that I showed you on Solana. So this is a trade I took out. It was a little bit early and we lost on this one, but I want to explain it real quick. So we took this trade here where Wif came up to this level and it looked like the classic Bart Simpson hair where it was declining momentum. And so we had these wicks, which we're getting, immediately sold off into. And so usually what I do on these is I do an underside retest where it's a short. And so what happens is price breaks down through level, comes back, retests it, and then my plan was that it would come back down here to this level of support over here. Now, with with meme coins, they tend to overextend a little bit. And so I wrote in the Discord that my stop was discretionary. It wasn't a hard stop, but it was above this previous wick because I entered on this candle right here. So my stop was above these wicks, but I said, I'm going to watch to see it because sometimes they like to hunt your stops. And this is exactly what they did. So in the Discord yesterday, I was sharing that it came up, it stopped us, it would have stopped us out, but I was watching and then the candle closed below it. So that's an example of a discretionary stop I use where if it started to close above it and it was like this and holding, then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get out because clearly it has reclaimed this level and it's going to go higher. But because it wicked above and couldn't hold and the candle actually closed beneath my stop, I felt comfortable holding it a little bit longer. And then what happened is overnight, I was going to sleep. So obviously I had to put a hard stop in because it could run forever. And so then overnight we did get stopped out because it then came up and wicked these areas. Now, unfortunately, I think this is going to play out at some point, but we're not in the position anymore. But you can just see it came here and meme coins tend to overextend. So it came up here, took everyone's stops out and from these highs over here, took everyone's stops and even the stops from over here and previously, which was over here as well. So you can see it hunted all the stops from here, which was back in July as well. So this is a huge level of resistance. It came and, this is where people put their stops before. And so now it came, took those out, and I could see us going lower, probably at least to 257 in the short term. But I think in the midterm this week, I could see us coming back down here to at least, around this level at 228. And this is where I'd be looking to pick up maybe some more spot. You can see this has been a pretty big area of support and resistance over time. So this is, big support here, support, 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 and then resistance. And so this is a level I could see us coming back down to. And I'd like to buy more spot if I can down here because I do like Wif. I just think it might be a little bit overextended right now. And these candles aren't typically very bullish when you see huge wicks and sell-offs. And we have this kind of declining momentum pattern that I've shared before, where we wick above, and every time it comes, it immediately gets sold off into, immediately sold off, immediately sold off into. That's not a structure that's very bullish. So these are all things that I'm looking for, and things that I look for on a lower time frame, like the hour time frame, to play out, onto these 4 hours and daily time frame. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at today. It's pretty much the same setup across all. Now, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but it's good that we have. This is crazy. It's good that we have the different scenarios for what could happen because we never know what's going to happen. But at least if we do have a plan ahead of time, we know what to do when price gets there. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. This is kind of the planning out I do every Sunday to get ready for the week. And if you're considering being a trader, it's definitely something that you should do to have your levels set for the week and be ready to go. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.